The sirens blared, traffic froze, and two glossy black SUVs screeched to a halt under the choking heat of a Dallas overpass. The crowd parted, curious eyes following as the rear door swung open. Out stepped two men, tall, broad-shouldered, polished shoes, clicking against the pavement. They looked like they owned the city, yet in that instant their faces softened, almost collapsed with fear. Because there, sitting on a ragged blanket with a chipped plastic bowl in her lap, was a woman they once called Mama. Her skin had grown thin, her eyes dim, but behind the weariness was a gaze they knew better than any. "Ma," one of them whispered, his voice breaking. The woman looked up, blinking against the harsh sunlight. Her hands shook as coins tumbled from the bowl onto the hot concrete, clinking like raindrops on tin. She squinted, not sure if her mind was playing tricks, until the second man fell to his knees. Tears spilled fast down his cheeks. "It's us, Mama. It's David and Daniel." The noise of the city faded, just a hollow thrum in the background. For one suspended moment, it was only them, the poor widow who once took in two starving boys, and the billionaires they had become. She reached for them, her lips trembling into the faintest smile, but her body gave out, her head tilting as she slumped. Mama, Daniel shouted, catching her before she hit the ground. The crowd surged, a bus horn rattled the bridge, and in seconds David was yelling, "Make way! We're taking her now!" He lifted her as if she weighed no more than a bag of oranges. The SUV door slammed shut and the tires screamed as they sped toward the hospital. Years before that desperate ride, there was another sound, an old radio crackling inside a farmhouse in rural Texas. David and Daniel were only 10 when the voice on the broadcast said their parents' plane never made it back. Just like that, childhood shattered. Their uncle barged through the house selling furniture, pocketing cash, claiming it all belonged to him. When they dared to speak, he snapped, "Boys don't argue with men. Get out." By sunset, they were standing outside the locked iron gate with nothing but a grocery bag in each other's hands. That first night under the overpass was cold and cruel. David bit his lip to hide his fear while Daniel counted passing trucks just to keep from crying. Hunger clawed at their stomachs. Strangers walked past like they were invisible. And then her, Mary. The woman everyone in the market mocked, whispering cursed widow after she lost her husband and only son. She sold bananas from a basket balanced on her head, her steps steady, though her heart had been broken twice over. That afternoon she spotted two ragged boys trying not to steal, just begging for a scrap of food. "Please, ma'am," David's voice cracked. "We haven't eaten." She stopped. The basket tilted slightly as she crouched, her eyes meeting theirs. They told her everything, the crash, the uncle, the nights under the bridge. Tears streaked Mary's cheeks as she whispered, "Come. If God left me with only one room in this basket, I will still share it." That night she fed them beans and cornbread, watched them devour it like it might disappear. She gave them shirts that smelled faintly of soap, laid a blanket over their shoulders, and prayed at the doorway. In the morning she made her rule: no stealing, no lying, and school above all. "My house is small, but my heart is big. You are my sons now." Life was never easy. The roof leaked. The landlord pounded for rent. The basket grew heavier each week. But Mary never faltered, and neither did the boys. They woke early, swept the floor, helped her peel bananas, then ran to school, gripping used notebooks to their chests. Teachers saw fire in their eyes. When exams came, their names blazed at the top of every list. One day, an NGO showed up offering scholarships for gifted children. David and Daniel took the test with trembling hands. When the van rolled into town to collect the chosen few, Mary dressed in her best Sunday wrapper. She hugged her boys tight, forcing a smile that quickly dissolved into tears as the vehicle carried them away. She waved until the dust swallowed the road. The years spun by. The boys became men in faraway cities studying technology, until the early hours building codes and apps that caught the world's attention. Wealth poured in like a flood. They led teams, created solutions that changed lives, and soon the media crowned them the Billionaire twins. Yet no matter how many zeros filled their accounts, they could never buy back the voice that once prayed over them in a one-room shack. So they returned. They searched every corner of their hometown asking for Mary. Neighbors looked down ashamed. She was driven out. One woman murmured, "We don't know where she went." The twins climbed back into their SUVs, hearts heavy, until under the blazing sun of Dallas, they spotted her again. Frail bent a bowl in hand. They stopped, and the world folded in on itself. The reunion under the overpass was messy, chaotic, full of tears, and then the hospital doors swallowed her away. Hours of waiting in that sterile hallway felt like years. Finally, a weary doctor emerged. "She will live," he said. "Weak, malnourished, but alive. What she needs now is rest, food, family. Family. The one word that cut deepest. Because she had been theirs long before the world called them rich. When Mary opened her eyes the next morning, she saw them again. Her boys, her sons, smiling through tears, vowing never to leave her side. And they meant it. Days later, she left the hospital, not for another bridge, not for another night of hunger, but for a mansion on the lakefront. Marble floors, glass walls, fountains singing in the courtyard. She trembled, whispering, "This cannot be for me. I was just a woman who sold bananas." David wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "No, Mama. You are the woman who raised kings." Tears streamed as she stepped through those golden doors, her past of ridicule erased by the love of the boys she saved. But her story didn't end with the mansion. Mary watched with joy as her sons fell in love, David with Elena, a quick-witted engineer, and Daniel with Marissa, a brilliant coder. Weddings followed, lavish yet tender, with Mary standing proudly at the center, dressed in her finest. The guests gasped when she rose and whispered, "This is my greatest dream." Months later, her prayers doubled. Elena gave birth to a baby girl, Marissa to a boy. Mary held both infants in her arms, tears dripping onto their cheeks as she murmured, "This is my answered prayer." For a while, the mansion overflowed with laughter and lullabies. But joy is sometimes the prelude to goodbye. One morning, David and Daniel carried breakfast to her room as they did every day. They knocked, called her name, but silence answered. When they pushed the door open, she lay neatly wrapped in her favorite cloth, her hands folded on her chest, her face peaceful as if in sleep. But the stillness said otherwise. Mama David fell to his knees, shaking her gently, then harder. "Please, not now. We need you." Daniel clutched her hand, already cold. "You promised to hold our children. They're here. Please don't go." Their wives entered with the babies, and the wails of newborns mixed with the cries of grown men. The funeral drew thousands, neighbors, church members, even those who once mocked her as a cursed widow. The convoy of SUVs brought her casket back to the same dusty village. David and Daniel refused to let anyone else lower her into the ground. With trembling hands, they did it themselves. "She gave us life," David said, voice breaking. "Now we give her peace," Daniel whispered. Villagers bowed their heads in shame, some whispering apologies into the wind. They knew they were burying a woman who once had nothing yet gave everything. That night, in the quiet nursery of their mansion, the twins sat side by side, listening to the steady breathing of their children. David turned to his brother. "She didn't die poor or mocked. She died fulfilled." Daniel nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. "We kept our promise. We gave her the life she deserved." The house that once echoed with emptiness was now full of children, of legacy, of a love that refused to die. And though Mary's body lay in the earth, her spirit lived on in every laugh, every prayer, every heartbeat of the family she had created. But here's the question I'll leave you with. Who really are the wealthy ones in this world? The ones with money, or the ones who give love when they have nothing else? Tell me what you think in the comments. Have you ever witnessed someone the world dismissed only to realize later they were the true backbone of everything? Share your thoughts where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will make you see life differently.